Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to the first edition of the TekForce Podcast in 2026. I am Dr. Finide. I'm the founder of FandF Consultancy and also the convener of the TekForce Connect conference and also the podcast, where we have real conversation about building careers, businesses, and leadership that have been built for the future and not just the present. So today we're going to be discussing something that most professionals misunderstand. Career growth is not just about skill stack. It's about identity evolution. And the real question isn't how do I grow? It's who am I becoming as I grow? And that's what today's conversation is about. I'm honored to begin with Lara Randle. Lara is a payments professional and an advocate for purposeful leadership with over 16 years of experience shaping the financial landscape across Nigeria and Africa. She currently serves as the Director of Technology Account Management at Mastercard. Throughout her career, she has led transformative initiatives, including GTBank's migration to contactless card technology and implementing Africa's first solution like instant card issuance. At Mastercard, she drives operational excellence while championing community impact through initiatives such as Girls for Tech and other ESG programs that empower women in technology. What stands out about Lara is not just her technical leadership, but her integration of purpose, performance, and people. Lara, welcome to the TekForce Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Joining her is Ugochi Agoreyo. Ugochi is a strategy development expert with over 20 years of experience in technology partnership and channel strategy. She has held leadership roles at organizations such as Google, SAP, and Microsoft. She currently leads Google Search Partnership for Sub-Saharan Africa and drives Google Health AI partnerships, operating at the intersection of strategy, ecosystem building, and emerging technology. Beyond corporate leadership, she mentors startups through the Google for Startups Accelerator Africa program. She serves as Africa Community Manager for women tech makers and co-founded a kids coding hub to promote digital education. Ugochi represents strategic leverage in action, building influence across systems, sectors, and communities. Ugochi, welcome to today's podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Excited to have you both on here. Today we're going to be going beyond resumes. We're exploring identity shifts, reinvention, strategic transitions, and how leadership evolves from the inside out. Let's begin at the core. Lara, I'd like to start with you. You spent over a decade in payments, an industry people often see as technical and structured. Internally, how has your definition of success evolved from your early GTBank days to where you are today at Mastercard?
So, payments can appear as technical and rigid, but for me, it's one of the most human careers that there is because every single part of payments affects our day-to-day lives in one way or the other. When I started out at Guarantee Trust Bank, success was very operational for me. It was about precision, making sure that transactions work, making sure that risk is managed, making sure that projects are delivered on time, making sure that nothing breaks in the transaction flow. And in payments, especially in the banking industry, you learn very quickly that failure is visible, failure is unforgiving, failure is system downtime, failure is cards not working, human beings are stranded, controls are breached, and funds can be lost. And as I grew in my career, the definition of success for me started to shift from doing well in a precise way. Some of the most meaningful projects that I've worked on are the projects on instant card issuance. Before, you would have to take a significant chunk out of your day to come into the banking hall to be able to request for cards. The project was not just successful because it works, because it's reduced its turnaround time, but because customers no longer had to wait for such a long time to get their cards. Within 5 minutes of requesting for cards, they have cards. And so for me, success started to look at not just precision, but output. And moving to Mastercard expanded that further because I moved into a more global ecosystem. And here, it's not just about what I do, it's also about how I enable other people. How do I look at success? How do I influence other people? How do I educate them? How do I help them understand cards better? Whether I'm working with customers, whether I'm handling trainings for customers, whether I'm having to demystify a product or service, I've learned that, look, payment is seen as rigid, highly technical. Yes, there's a reason for that. But at the end of the day, the real measure of success has moved from precision to how much impact I can deliver to other people.
That's powerful. Thank you, Lara. Especially what you said about precision, meaning that you want it to be repeatable, consistent. However, you also tied it back to the customer experience to make sure that you're building in processes that improves how the customers interact with the delivery of the service. Thanks, we appreciate it. So, Ugochi, I'd love to bring you in here. Your career spans Google, SAP, and Microsoft. Very different cultures and leadership environment. When you reflect on your journey, what stayed constant in you, even if the environment around you changed?
That's a really interesting question. That is actually quite key to the way that I've evolved. And I'll start from the very beginning. I mean, yes, I've worked in tech, but I actually started out my career in banking. And that's a totally different industry. And yes, banking, more operations, but I think I've always known, even from my banking days, that I'm more strategy led. Because even in operations, I would be questioning why we do things the same way all the time, even though that's what operations people should do, right? You need to be an expert at doing this over and over again, making sure the processes are right. But then I would question, why do we have to do this way? They would say, oh, but we've done this like this for 10 years. I'm like, well, it could be better. Couldn't we do? So always thinking about what's the next thing. And that's why I kind of left banking. I kind of felt like it was very regimented and I couldn't really apply much of strategy around basic banking operations because there's a certain way you needed to do things. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong because some people are very process driven, but I'm not. And that led me kind of to moving away and going to do an MBA. Now, the reason I tell this story is because exactly what you have said is how I've kind of evolved in my career. Doing that MBA, I think the one thing, and I say this to everyone that I talk to about understanding like your career evolution, the one thing, and I think is the most important thing that I got out of doing that, during the MBA, you know, I kept on saying to my advisors, the tutors, I've been in banking and I really don't want to go back to banking, but I just feel like I will be stuck because this is all I've done. But how do I? And then they kept on saying to me, you have to understand what your transferable skills are and you can do anything. And it's not just understanding. So there are two things. You understand what your transferable skills are and you know that really well. And then you're able to articulate it when someone says, what can you do? So it's not about what you've learned in the particular industry or the particular business or culture. It's about what you can transfer. So for instance, like you said, I came from SAP into Google, totally different, like opposite cultures, right? But there's something that I took away from Microsoft or SAP, right? The fact that I'm able to transform ecosystems, I'm able to deliver revenue, no matter what ecosystem it is. There are skills that obviously I have that I can transfer into anywhere to deliver this particular impact. And that's what I take everywhere. Right? And so it's a pivot that continues to move. So even when you were smiling, when you were saying, oh, she leads search, because I don't anymore. I've actually now pivoted and I lead AI partnerships, Gemini partnerships for Google for Sub-Saharan Africa now. But it's the same concept. It's basically understanding, do you want to see progress? Do you want to see delivery? Do you want to see impact? I can bring that. It doesn't matter where I'm coming from. I can bring that and I can tell you how I can bring that into your business or your area, and that's really what you need.
Wow. One key thing that stood out for me is transferable skills, because a lot of people think that if you move industries, you're starting from zero. No, You're actually starting from knowledge. It's identifying what you can bring in from your existing experience to solve problem in this new environment. So,
Exactly.
Richard, that was really something that stood out for me. So, Lara, building on that, looking back, right, was there a season in your career where choosing the right next step meant quietly letting go of a version of yourself that worked before, but no longer fit into who you're becoming? And how did you know it was time to release that version?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll talk about leadership as an example when it comes to this one. So you see, you don't get promoted necessarily when you continue to do the same thing over and again. And I realized that as I wanted to deliberately grow my career, I couldn't continue to do the same things over and again. I was known for my technical expertise in the field that I am in, but I can't continue to be known as a technical expert to grow. And so I had to start to do a bit of other things like train other people, stretch out of my comfort zone from the things that I'm already very familiar with to new things. And I think the one thing that I've particularly had to let go of is perfection, doing things properly, in trying to stretch, trying to grow, trying to move into something new. Letting go of carrying out a task as against letting someone else struggle with that task until they get it right is something that I have struggled with. I will not be able to grow, I will not be able to bloom if I continue to do the same thing over and over again. And that's just something that I've had to juggle, to say, look, let's go, step back, don't be so quick to try to help someone else. You are teaching this person, you are guiding them. Let them try to figure things out, or up to a reasonable extent. Don't jump into everything that's coming on your table. That's something that I've had to juggle for years.
So leadership is one thing that everyone gets thrown into. So you're good at delivering value. You're like, oh, now come coordinate other people to deliver value, which is a two different ball game. And now you have to learn trust, delegation, and coaching other people to deliver, which might take 3 or 4 times the energy if you just did it yourself. So
Absolutely.
We've all been there, and that's actually something that as you grow into leadership, you would have to get comfortable letting other people figure in their parts with your support. So Ugochi, I want to shift a little bit to another area. So what was your first major failure, and how did that shape the leader that you've become today?
Yeah, I mean, and I say this with a lot of respect, right? I'm not like belittling. You have to understand that if you work in the area that we work in and the region that we work in. So for instance, you're working in emerging markets, you're working in Africa, especially in an international organization. You have to get used to. So when you say what was the major failure, you have to get used to a lot of failure. You have to get used to a lot of no's, and I think just twisting the question a little bit, there are lots of things fail, right? When you're working in these, and you see that a lot. But I think what I am inspired about with working in these regions and these environments is that there is a difference in the people, myself and everyone else that works in emerging markets, right? That other people see and they're like, I don't know what you guys are on, because we just never take no for an answer. So if I think about, there are so many I just can't think about, but if I think about the collection of things that people have said no and have failed, with, what we always take out of it is that you just don't take no for an answer. So if, for instance, they said, we're never going to be able to deploy this in Africa, we're like, okay, but tomorrow I will come back with a chat or an email to say, well, what if we did this? And what if we did that? Or can I show you some more stats that will make you think that maybe we should redo this? right? And I will be honest, that has been the major driver for all of the successes that I have seen in my career. It's just never taking no for an answer. So it's not focusing the things that went wrong. It's actually saying, oh, this went wrong, but what can I improve or what can I make better that can make it go right? Because I'm just not taking no for an answer. Is there another version of this thing that I'm going to go and present to these people that will give me the yes? And many times, I think people just get worn down. They're just like, oh my God, she's back again. Maybe we should do this thing and let's try it again. But yeah, I think that's really what has worked for me and continues to work. And I mean, I can give some examples. When I started at Microsoft, and this is even from a career perspective, when I started at Microsoft, I started off as a temp, as like a contract staff, and they said to me, oh, no one has ever kind of moved from temp before 2 years. And I remember saying at the interview to the director that, well, I'm not going to be a temp for more than 1 year. And he was like, well, nobody moves before 2 years. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I joined, because we had this conversation before we joined, and then did lots of things. And 9 months later, they came to me and said, look, there's an opening for a full-time role, and we think really you should take this role because, I mean, you've delivered this and that. And you know, I went into the role asking for, I think at the time, maybe 2 or 3 levels above the level that I was at. And the director was like, are you okay? Why would we do that? People were like, of course not. And then I was like, okay. And then I come back with like loads of papers. Yeah. And he said to me, because I said I wanted to meet with him, and he was like, what is all this? And I said to him, I want to explain to you why I deserve this level that is 2 or 3 levels above, and why I have the skills for the level that I'm asking for. But I have everything written here, and I want us to go through it one by one. And he was like, okay. He didn't sound convinced, but at the end of that meeting, he just said to me, you know what, I'm going to call HR and we're going to give you the role, right? And so those are it's just never for me. Yes, there's a failure, but at the back of the failure, what are we learning and what are we going to quickly turn into success?
True. How are we learning from it? Because I had the mindset over the years of never seeing anything as a failure and seeing it as a redirection, and that helps you to be able to find an opportunity to explore the learnings and improve. So let's talk a little bit more on the cost of evolving as a person. So Ugochi, I'm going to continue with you. Many professionals want evolution, but they underestimate that transition phase. So from your experience, what's the real price of evolving a career that people don't talk about?
There's always a price to everything, right? It might not be it might not be monetary value, but for me, the price is always the time that I will take to develop in other areas. And I think this is something that lots of people miss, where and I try to talk about this a lot, especially in Google and the people that I kind of engage with, where people look at growth as vertical growth. So I'm moving up from director to like MD to VP at Google, where there is horizontal growth, where you are learning other skills, learning other areas, and then the opportunities, instead of having 1 or 2 opportunities, you then have 5, because you could either grow in this direction up the organization or move out in another direction into another organization and then expand from there, right? But then what the opportunity cost is the time that you take. Right? You have to find that time. That's a cost that the time that you take to develop yourself in either the horizontal areas that you think that would be your next best career move, or the vertical areas where you think, I want to grow in this organization. You must find that time, and then you must map out that strategy and understand what it takes to go either horizontal or vertical. So for me, it would be giving yourself that time, just loving yourself enough to understand that you have to dedicate some time to your personal growth, and whether that's vertical or horizontal.
True. I like the perspective of vertical growth, because a lot of people are thinking that their career is going to be linear. One of my soft spots, especially in that area, is that a lot of us, especially coming from emerging countries, emerging markets, or having family or friends in those industries, have seen their career. They probably worked in one company all their entire career, or maybe 1 or 2 in some rare cases. That's a particular industry. So sometimes you kind of think that I have done this, I'm passionate about it, and we think that's the only thing we're going to be passionate about for the rest of our life, without realizing that there might be other things you could be passionate about that you've not tried. So that vertical ability to move, because I've seen people move from sales to account management for account management, to marketing for marketing, to product from, even seen people move from sales to software development, which is weird, but it happens, right? Because you could pick other skill sets along the line, and I've seen people move in those manner and then become a director in an entirely different journey that they did not come in the company with it. So thanks for that perspective. So Lara, I'm curious, has purpose ever cost you momentum or speed in your career? Or did purpose ultimately to accelerate your speed or your growth in your career?
Yes, I believe that there's a trade-off when you need to follow purpose, and it could definitely come at a cost. I think the important thing is to, since you are aware that there's a purpose and there's something that you're chasing after, balance that momentum to say, look, it's going to cost me this because I want to do X, Y, Z, and this is how I will be able to recover at the end of the day.
Yeah, so there will be a trade-off. It's about determining how much do you want to trade. Thanks for that, Lara. So, Ugochi, at what point did you stop optimizing for titles? Because you talked about, vertical moving. The minute you start doing that, you don't care about the titles much. And you start optimizing for leverage. Because one of the things is people are willing to switch, but they don't know the right time. They don't know how to go about it. So how does that shift your decision or your process or how you do things?
So, I think with me, and I was listening when you were asking the last question. I think with me, right, it's not a lot about titles. I can be very ideological about things, and I do have, so purpose plays a very important role in the way that I look at what I want to do, because I am not process driven. I'm very more passion led, right? So it's what feels like passion. What can I do? How can I make a change? So those sorts of things matter a lot to me. How do I change the world? How will this affect people? So I would work in organizations based on that, like the work we're doing, would it affect, how does it affect people? How does it make people's lives better? Women, how would we help women in tech, kids, how do you support? So those are the kind of things that kind of drive the way that I think about where I should be going or opportunities that I should take, right? And I find that if you lead with genuine intentions and genuine purpose, the titles will come. And that's personal for me. I know that there are people that are very focused on titles, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with that. I'm not that person. I'm more about the work. So even when I pivot or I take, it's usually because I've been really passionate about something, just like this AI role. I was doing all of the courses, all of the taking courses on AI ethics, and that's why the opportunity came, right? But it's because I'm passionate about the fact that, yes, there's this new technology, there's AI here, but how do we make sure it operates for the good of all humans, right? And we are responsible in the way that we deploy AI is where the passion was and why I then started to look in that area.
So for you, it's about looking at different perspective of passion and impact and value for humanity. So how would this improve how things are done, and who are the end users of getting these values? So thanks, Ugochi. So Ugochi, you operate at the intersection of technology, partnerships, and strategy. So was that intersection intentional from the start, or did it reveal itself over time? For example, in fast moving sectors like AI technology, how do you personally decide what to master deeply versus what to simply just stay aware of?
So I mean, that's a great question. When people ask, where do you work, and you say technology, people expect you to be like a software engineer or a project manager or very deep in technology. And you're right. Because I work more on a strategy type of and a business type of flair as opposed to just tech, right? you have to be a master of everything, right? And this kind of leads to me, because I remember when I used to do like partner management at Microsoft, and I would go into the partners organizations and I would say, think of me like a non-executive director in your business, because my role is to make sure that you're successful. And what that would entail is that I understand the technology, I understand the strategy that you need to acquire to win, I understand what resources that we can provide to help you, and I understand how your business is doing today. So if you look at all of those things, I have to be finance director, I have to be marketing and go to market, I have to be technical, and I have to then be like the boss in the business, because I want you to make revenue. I want you to be successful. So it does not, there's no way that I can be deeply technical such that I know a lot about engineering, but I need to know enough to be able to say, when someone comes to me and says that I don't think that we can build this, and I should be able to say, no, we can, because we have this technology, we have this. If we put this together and we do this like this, we should be able to build this. So correct me if I'm wrong, but if you do this, we should be successful. And what that implies is that you're a jack of all trades and master of all. You have to be that broad, because if you're thinking about strategy for the business, you have to understand all parts of the business, right? And that's the only way that you will be successful. There's no, which is why it's very difficult for you to bring someone who has been very focused on something and make the person MD of a really large organization, because the person has many blind spots, right? You want someone who has vision about everything and understands every bit of the business. You're not the expert. I mean, I'm not coding. You're not coding and building like technology, but you understand technology such that you're saying, no, we can do this, we can do that, because I've seen us do this and I've seen us do that.
Thanks, Ugochi, because one thing you mentioned, and it kind of gives me the quote that you just utilized about jack of all trades. People normally say master of none, but most people don't say the last part, which is better than a master of one, which means that you know a lot about everything. So you're better than someone that only knows one area, which is something that is key for someone like you working at an intersection, to know enough to talk about every topic with every team and make sure you're all able to move together in the right direction while solving the core problems for the business. Thanks, Ugochi. So, Ugochi, you mentor startups and young professionals. It's a different ballgame entirely, because they're very energized. They believe they can do everything. So what's one outdated career belief that you think that, or you feel very heavily about, that is holding young people back? And you've also, on the other side, you've managed high-level partnerships with people that are pretty senior, thinking that they know everything, which is like moving from two entirely opposite worlds, right? And for those people, you're investing deeply in social impact projects, but ensuring that you're leveraging their core competence in their space. So how would they, in this other side, build a career that holds multiple callings? Because now you have young people just starting off, you have the advanced people thinking that they want to change the way certain things are doing, and they have experience doing that in another area. How do you juggle both worlds?
So I think if I understand the question, I think that there are a couple of things that everyone, whether you're a business or you are a leader or aspiring to be a leader. So people think about leadership in the sense that, how do I manage my people? That's the one thing. How do I manage my people and make sure I'm successful at that? But there are two things you should be thinking about. Whether you're a young person trying to go into leadership or a startup, there are two things you should be managing. You should be managing down, which is the people, and you should be managing up. Right? So if you think about a career that you're building as a young person, what managing up might look like is, if you're not already at a management level where you're thinking, how do I manage a stakeholder on top of me? If you are just at kind of like entry kind of young person level, you have to understand the key to progressing in an organization. The question you asked about consistency, key. The key to progressing in an organization is understanding what is vitally important to that organization and optimizing for that. It's the same thing with if you're a leader, understand what your stakeholders, what is priority to them, and optimize for that, right? So when we say that that leadership values and rewards consistency, there's a qualification to that. They value consistency of output. They're not just valuing consistency, they value consistency of output. And that for them is how good you are and how much they can rely on you delivering excellent output all the time. And if you keep that as constant, your evolution, even if it's not a consistent evolution, is always moving towards that constant. How do I reinvent myself so that I continue to be at that consistent level of delivering exceptional output? So that's what you should think about, whether you are at the entry stage of your career, whether you are at middle stage or what is that consistent output that you need to achieve to make sure that the organization understands that we can't let go of this person. This person is a superstar, right? If you're a business, you also have to think about it in that way. Many businesses think about, and I think that's what they miss. Many businesses think about, the product. I'm going to build this amazing product. They can do 50,000 things, and I'm such a great developer, and it's the best whatever technology that product is. What they miss is what are the stakeholders looking for, and for you as a business, it's the users, right? That you should be thinking about, what do they actually want? Because you can say today that I've built this amazing AI technology that will help them put food on their table and serve them in their houses. But you haven't asked them whether that is the problem that they're trying to solve today. You think it's a really cool problem, and you've put in all of this money developing this tech savvy thing. But is that really what the people asked you for? Right? So you have to think about the two things that you have to manage. Yes, build your product, but what's more important is the research before you build your product, right? And make sure that research is solid, that you have spoken to the people you're building for and you really understand what they want so that you can deliver. So that remains constant, and everything else you change within your organization is moving towards that constant, because once you get it right, you will be successful.
Thanks, Ugochi. You've covered a full 360 approach of every possible area, whether you're starting from the beginning, you're at the end, and even in the middle, you're trying to figure out how to. And one thing that stood out for me is the consistency, ability to not just be consistent, because consistency could be you shutting out the wrong output, shutting out valuable output to the company in a way where it's predictable. Not how the value looks like, but the fact that in every stage that you switch into, it's actually valuable. The other part that got me thinking about a couple when I was still focusing a lot on speaking to startups or professionals, and everyone really has a great idea that people want this. And I've had to teach classes where I talked about the fact that we don't have flying cars doesn't mean the technology does not exist. We're not going to get in them yet. Is society ready for it? Another thing is, do people want it? Also, is it a want or a need? Because I'm not spending my money on something I can live without. So are you focusing on something? And what are you competing at? What's that money competing for? For example, are you competing with them paying their kids' school fees, paying their house rent, fuel in their car, insurance? Because you have to show them that whatever you want them to buy has a higher value than whatever they're spending the money for right now. So heavily depending on market research and not friends and family, which will always tell you that your idea is the best.
You're a superstar. You've done the best.
Looking for people that brutally tell you the truth. In my earlier days of speaking to startup, a lot of them didn't like me at the end of those conversations because I tore down that beautiful baby that they were nurturing and thinking they're going to give birth to, and now you just made it look like nobody wants it. But your ability to be able to take feedback and evolve is how you get to a perfect person.